Hi everyone. Last week I was marking some student exams and I noticed that many students were making the same mistake. So today I'd like to talk about how to use the following four words: some, any, much and many. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to introduce another phrase or word to you. It's actually a very useful phrase. It's my very favourite one, so stay watching right to the end so I can share that with you. To understand how to correctly use these words, we really need to take a step back and check that we fully understand the following. First of all, the difference between positive and negative statements. And then the difference between countable and uncountable nouns. And finally, we just need to check that we understand how to make questions.
Really?
Let's start with positive and negative statements. A positive statement tells us that something is so, that something is. Whereas a negative statement tells us that something is not so. And negative statements normally include the word not, or verbs like isn't, can't, don't, or won't. Examples of a positive and negative statement. There is a book on the table. That's a positive statement. There isn't a book on the table. That's a negative statement. Let's look briefly at countable and uncountable nouns. Well, nouns can be people or animals or places or things, and countable nouns are things that we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Of course, uncountable nouns, we can't count them. Countable nouns. So student is a countable noun. Uncountable nouns, well, rice is an uncountable noun. And finally, just a reminder of what is a question. Of course, when we ask a question, we're trying to find out something from the listener. You can have yes/no questions, which can only be answered yes or no. And then you can have what are often known as WH questions. Normally begin with WH, like who, what, where, when, why, and also how, although that doesn't begin with WH.
Shall we begin?
Now, after that quick refresher, we're ready to start thinking about our words for today. Remember, our words are some, any, much and many. Now really, some means a little bit, a few, a small amount or a small number of something. And we use some in positive statements with plural countable nouns and with uncountable nouns. So plural countable nouns. I have some students waiting for me. An uncountable noun. I will eat some rice for my lunch. Now you notice I said plural countable nouns because if we were looking at a singular countable noun like student without an S, then I would say I have a student waiting for me, or maybe I have an elephant waiting for me. A for most of the words, and if the next word begins with a vowel sound A, E, I, O or U. And we also use some when we're making an offer or making a request. For example, would you like some magazines to read whilst you are waiting? Or could I have some coffee, please? Now let's move on to the word any. So actually the word any could mean one of something. It could mean a little of something, or it could mean all of something. And we use any together with negative sentences, negative statements with countable or uncountable nouns. I don't have any students waiting for me. I won't eat any rice for my lunch. We also use any for questions with countable or uncountable nouns. For example, do you have any relatives in Bangkok? Teacher, why don't you have any hair? So let's move on to look at much and many. So much and many both refer to large quantities or large amounts of something. And we use much when we are using uncountable nouns, particularly to make negative sentences, or if we're asking questions about quantity. For example, there isn't much water in the fridge. Or, how much money do you have in your wallet? And we use many with positive and negative statements, and when we're asking questions using countable nouns. I have many essays to write this weekend. I don't have many friends on Facebook. How many points did you get in your midterm test? Now, I did promise at the beginning of this lesson to share with you a very useful word or phrase, my very favourite, at the end of the video. And those words and phrases are lots, or lots of, or a lot of. Why are they my favourite? Well, we can use these words and phrases when we're talking about countable or uncountable nouns. We can use them when we're making positive or negative statements. And we can also use them when we're asking any kind of question. That's why they're my favourite, because if you're in any doubt about whether to use much or many, when you use lots, lots of, or a lot of, it's always going to be correct. Wow. For example, I have a lot of work to do. You have lots of spots on your face. I don't have a lot of free time. There aren't a lot of chairs available in the classroom. Did you get a lot of presents for your birthday? Why didn't you get a lot of sleep last night? I'm going to finish the lesson today by putting some questions on the screen for you to answer. You can fill in the missing words, and you can put your answers please in the comments box below, or you can ask me some questions. And I hope you learned some new things today from this lesson, and that you didn't have any problems understanding what I said. Why not watch another video? I have lots of videos available on my channel now. But for this lesson, many thanks for watching, and bye bye.